These fucking idiots will listen to anything. I'm not going to do that on the CBC.
Yeah. Let's start recording.
I did.
Oh.
Welcome, residents of the Dr. DC podcast. My name is producer Richard, and across from me is the doctor himself.
Hello,
Each week, we talk about the weird and wonderful world of DC while fielding questions from listeners like you.
baby.
We've got so much to do. I just want to there's so many questions this week. But before we get into it, we got a 5-star review.
Nice. Sorry.
Cool. Do you want a cough candy?
Actually, you know what? Yes, please. Yeah.
I'll fucking pop that shit open for you.
let's
Don't
do it,
worry.
yeah.
Here you go, daddy.
Oh, thank you, son.
Oh, that made it worse.
I don't like this anymore.
Clearly somebody doesn't dirty talk. I do. Have we ever told the story about when your wife told you that you were having
Oh, I've told that a bunch. Yeah. When she found out she was pregnant, she came into the room. She was trying to be like
fun.
And she was like, "Hi, Daddy." And I went, "Are we doing that?" And she was like, "No, I'm pregnant." I was like, "Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That I love."
I was talking to a girl about that the other day. Who
About that?
No, not about
my
that.
story?
No, not about
Okay.
your story. Though I tell that story all the time.
You have my permission.
Thank you. I wasn't asking.
No.
But she was saying that she was like seeing a guy recently that had asked her to do that, and
I have mixed feelings about it.
and that's exactly my response was. She said she was like I felt weird about it, but then had like the biggest orgasm I've had in my entire life. So she's like, I don't.
Cool.
And then I was like, yeah, I've got really mixed feelings
You
about
got
it.
to do more testing, though. We don't
Yeah.
know what made that happen.
No, it was very funny though.
We need a control experiment.
Come here. Anyways, 5-star review.
Yeah, this was all relevant.
Number 204, Apple Podcast USA from Zula666.
Okay.
Who goes on to say, "My uncle deserves respect."
It's not ma-hunkle. It's ma-hunkle. Like ma. Like
My uncle.
my lovely lady.
Uncles. Check it out. You got hunkled up down the disco. Anyways, they go on to say, first off, I would like to say that this is hands down the best comic book podcast. I came for the content, but stayed for the hosts. Stay because of the hosts. You've no choice.
Yeah, lock the door.
We're coming in.
Oh, no.
I've also become a fan of Ghostfacers and have been prompted to rewatch Supernatural because of it.
Nice.
The guys have an amazing chemistry that is unmatched by any other podcast hosts without doubt. However,
I just quick note. I'll let you get back to it because I know we got a lot to get through.
right,
But
Kanye.
yeah, I'm gonna let you finish. Wow, old reference. When you give a review,
People love, however.
you don't need to have like any sort of corollary attached to that. You can just give. I love it. Great.
These guys are great.
Peace.
Except,
Yeah. We don't. Whatever. Anyway, go on.
however, I just listened to the Docmas from this past year, and there was a huge misrepresentation. My uncle cooks the best cookies out of any superhero. I don't even remember.
I don't either. I was probably trying not to shit myself to death.
She went from superhero to super housekeeper for the JSA.
True.
Also, listening to Marvel steals from DC as writing and have to say, if you ever need a true Marvel expert, or perhaps what one might even call a Dr. Marvel, ring the doc's phone is ringing. Which is weird because they actually wrote docs like DOX
Oh no.
for the doc's
The
phone.
doc's phone, that's where we just leave messages of various people's addresses.
Or people can call us and just give their addresses.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, called the doc's phone.
But no, seriously, this is really the best comic book podcast, and they make my job a whole lot easier. I work from my car, and in every episode I listen to, I feel like I too am part of the conversation. Liam Willis.
Hey, very nice.
Liam K. Willis, as I know him.
Yeah. Well, no, now you're doxing him.
Now, that's what I'm talking
That's
about.
just how
Willis.
he's known on Instagram.
Yeah, I called out his Instagram handle.
You monster.
And now they'll get his photos.
They'll find where he posts.
Oh my God. Just don't post any photos with pizza boxes and you'll be fine.
I just got to say,
Uh-huh.
what a... Imagine trying to explain that sequence of events to yourself
Yeah.
10 years earlier.
Oh, I know. Who are any of these people?
Who are these people? Why are they fighting on the internet? How is a place called Jerry's Pizza in Romania anyway?
I didn't even think about that.
There's a lot of wrinkles.
Also, people are still using Twitter?
Yeah.
All right. Well, this week's episode is all about the captain himself.
That's right. There's only one.
Crunch.
Yeah. Yeah, we're talking about Captain Cold.
Yeah, baby.
Leonard Snart.
The one and only.
Yeah. I can't believe how many questions we got.
Yeah, you were going to add extra work onto this episode.
I was going to make us read
Yeah.
a comic for this because I was like, it's pretty niche. There's only going to be so many questions.
I feel like we've already done one of these.
I mean, we've done one about like cold themed characters.
Yes.
We talked about the rogues on lots of
Yeah,
Flash episodes.
yeah.
Like he's come up a bunch, but we've never just done an episode on Captain Cold before.
We've done a cold episode. Now we're doing one on Captain Cold. We're just scraping the bottom of these ideas now.
No, we're allowed to revisit ideas that we don't have time to fully explore.
Yeah, this is our Pizza Hut 7. Yeah.
Yeah. As long as it's not our Jerry's Pizza 1.
Oh no. All right.
Doughboys do Jerry's Pizza. They should do a Dovestigation.
I love that.
Oh, anyway, go on.
Let's start talking about Captain Cold with the questions.
Let's do it.
That we've got on Facebook.
Going to the face of the book, going to the
Look
Facebook.
of horror when you're like, what's the song?
There was no such look.
Uh-huh. First question comes from Braden Ketty, who asks, what are your thoughts on the new 52 Captain Cold? Does he work trying the hero role for a bit, or is he better being a street-level criminal and leader of the rogues?
I will say that even pre-New 52, Captain Cold he always had that kind of like, sometimes he'd team with the Flash, you know, because the rogues in general always have this kind of like moral code. You don't kill unless it's like kill or be killed, or unless it's like a full revenge thing.
Sure, yeah.
You don't hurt like women and kids. You know, like all this kind of stuff that was already part of the rogues.
Yeah.
And the rogues in general derive that mostly from Captain Cold. He's the leader of the rogues. He's usually the one kind of imposing that moral structure, especially
Totally.
someone like the Trickster. He'll go off script, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Captain Cold's kind of the one that puts those guardrails on for the rogues. But so even before Flashpoint, there were instances where Captain Cold would team up with the Flash, or he'd like be on, quote, the side of the Angels, or he just wouldn't team up with the big villains.
Sure,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
like
yeah.
that already was happening. But in the New 52, or rather the post Flashpoint era, there is this extra step that is taken, which is that he kind of tries his hand a couple of times at actually saving the day.
Okay.
Not just that, like, I don't agree with worse villains, but also, like, maybe I could turn over a bit of a new leaf.
Yeah.
He has a few instances of that.
Yeah.
He, he does help the citizens of Central City when Gorilla Grodd's army attacks and invades. He is part of the Injustice League that takes down the crime syndicate.
Yep.
He works for Lex when Lex goes hero. And so he ends up basically being a sort of like adjunct part of the Justice League
Oh, wow.
post Forever Evil. You know, he does that work. He's, he cycles back to crime afterwards. He always does. But there was kind of like more of a push of like, is there heroism in Leonard Snart? Which do I prefer? I think they're all the same. To me, I don't see that as vastly different. It feels like the logical evolution of it. You know what I mean? If before it's just like, well, we won't fight the Flash here. We'll just sit back. Then the next step is like, well, this is our city. We should protect. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
And I think all of that is pretty internally consistent with how the character has been written. Let's say at least in the modern era.
Yeah.
But I think in general that it works. To me, they're not different. It's just the evolving saga. Because also, you know, when Captain Cold reverts back, we also get swings into like, wait, am I a villain? And like those are also very short. And then he always kind of comes back to the center of like, I just want to like knock over Banks. You know.
Well, and I love the version of him from Legends, and I think that's the one who's like sort of fighting to be a hero.
Yeah, I mean that one probably is the most like. I mean, that one gets the benefit of he dies on his hero moment.
Yeah.
They don't really deal with the like, well, we should swing him back to crime, and it will he, won't he? They don't have to deal with that.
I do hate that they never bring him back, but
well, they bring back a version of him.
Sure.
So yeah, that Cold on Legends of Tomorrow gets his hero moment, dies in season 1.
yeah.
Then a version of him that never had the hero inkling
Yes.
is part of the Legion of Doom in season
yeah.
2. And I think he comes back maybe a couple of times after that. But
He was such a great addition.
there's also the hero version from Earth X that we see in that crossover. And that's
Yeah.
Citizen Cold.
Yeah.
That is a nice way to bring him back too.
All right. Well, let's go to the next question from Kyle Sylvie, who asks, who would win in a 1v1 quick scope match, Captain Cold or Mr. Freeze?
I don't know what quick scope means. I don't play Fortnite.
Yeah, I don't either. But
You dang kids.
yeah. Do you want me
But-
to look it up?
I mean, I think we could just take that out and still understand the question.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, 1v1, Mr. Freeze or Captain Cold. I think this is as good a time as any to describe what is kind of canonically the fundamental difference between the two of them. Mr. Freeze has a freeze gun and tech. I mean, we know that Mr. Freeze, like he himself, must be refrigerated and stuff like that. Captain Cold doesn't have that going on. But technologically, Mr. Freeze has devices. He has a gun and weaponry and stuff like that
Yeah.
that shoot ice and, you know, frozen things. Captain Cold's weapon, strictly speaking, doesn't actually shoot ice. It, like, robs atoms of their molecular energy.
Whoa.
It's like the effect is largely the same, that it
Sure.
develops ice and he could make, you know, ice slicks and, you know, constructs or whatever.
Yeah.
But strictly speaking, they're different. Mr. Freeze is like freezing. He's shooting ice and making stuff like that, and snow and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Captain Cold is the man who mastered Absolute Zero. He's robbing.
Not Absolute 69.
I can't even remember the genesis of that joke, but I will post the fan art that was made. The man who mastered Absolute 69.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, he's the man who mastered Absolute Zero. He's robbing atoms of their molecular energy. The effect of that is largely the same, but they're kind of doing fundamentally different things. And a big part of that is that it means that Captain Cold's tech goes further than Mr. Freeze's.
Sure, yeah.
You know? So I think Mr. Freeze is probably a more capable fighter. He's also in a big like armor suit.
He's also a scientist.
He's also a scientist. He's smarter than Snart. You know, like he's got a lot going for him. Snart has that sort of like blue collar tenacity
Sure,
and
yeah,
things like that. And his tech is probably more devastating at a certain point. You could probably even freeze. But I think Mr. Freeze would win just by being on competence, I guess is where I'm putting this.
Totally.
And it's not that Snart is bumbling or whatever. He's not at all.
But like Mr. Freeze is just so capable.
I think Freeze is just more capable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's leave Facebook and head on over to Twitter.
Twitter.
First question comes from my favorite Twitter account name,
Okay.
my wife's boyfriend.
Love it.
So good. Do you think he's an effective bad guy solo or better when he's teamed up and leading the rogues? Also, Do you see him as the main Flash rogue or more or less than Reverse Flash?
Okay, so two halves to this question. I think it's interesting to see solo Snart stories, but I think the part of the reason the rogues are important is that they are, in the way that Snart kind of puts the moral guardrails on the team.
Yeah.
I think the main reason that that team ever veers into any version of heroism is Snart. Yeah,
Sure.
That's not to say that none of the rest of them are capable of those moments. They absolutely are. There's canon evidence of, a change of heart for Heatwave or what, like that shit's in there. But I think a lot of it comes from Snart. So to me, when you look outside the old adventures, like the Silver Age, Bronze Age stuff with Captain Cold, you look in the modern era, a solo Captain Cold story to me feels like the arc of it is like he and the Flash just go, like the Flash just goes like, "What are you doing, Len?"
Yeah.
Like they could have that moment that Snart might reveal something, or because even him and his sister Golden Glider, even them together, they do good. They made like a legitimate business at one point. They went straight. It was called Golden Snowball Inc. or whatever, which sounds so dirty.
I was
saying it out
just
loud.
going to say.
It sounds really bad saying it out loud. But basically, they were like
You come and piss in someone's mouth.
no, it's where you get cum and piss in your mouth and then
Spit it into somebody else's mouth, yeah.
I want to be clear about
Yeah,
this.
yeah. Let's not be gross.
Let's be accurate.
Yeah.
So accurate, it can't be disgusting.
I mean, you're not wrong.
But they were essentially like a theft recovery business. Like if people lost things or had stuff stolen,
Sure,
they would go get it back,
Yeah.
And like they had a legit turn.
Yeah.
And I think anytime Cold is sort of removed from the rogues, that's the bent. And it's never that he's going to be the best hero or whatever, but he's just like, if he's making enough of a life, he can be content.
Totally.
And I think that is a line for him. He can be content.
Yeah.
The rogues are important, because there's an interesting dynamic of someone that's like, I want to be bad. No, wait, not that bad. And then you have to rope in these other people that do it. But I think they also kind of ground him in that. There's always going to be one more score because he also has this sort of like responsibility to them, that the sort of like once a rogue, always a rogue.
Totally.
Someone's in prison. It's like, I thought I was out, but we've got to break him out. Like one last, like there's
Hell
always
yeah.
a fucking Toretto shit,
Yeah.
That's a real element of the rogues. And I think both are important and interesting. I think I prefer them with the rogues
Yeah.
long term. But,
Totally.
You know,
I mean, I'm loving those Rogues books right now.
oh, the Black Label one? Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, that's an amazing book. And a really interesting interpretation of Snart.
Yeah.
A really, like, good dive into the seedier parts of that character, which is
Totally.
awesome.
Yeah.
As for the second half of this question,
Yes.
do I see Captain Cold as more of a villain for the Flash?
Like, yeah, is he...
An arch enemy, rather.
Yeah, as the main Flash rogue, more or less than the Reverse Flash.
So here, I have a complicated feeling about this.
Okay.
When I was getting really into comics again and I was like blogging and writing and stuff like that,
Yeah.
I had it in my head that the best villains are the opposing ones, not the mirroring ones.
Interesting.
So for Superman, it's Lex. It's not Zod or Bizarro.
Sure, yeah.
For
yeah.
Batman, it's the Joker. It's not Two-Face or Riddler.
Sure, yeah.
Like it's the one that fundamentally in the core of their being, in their gimmick, in their life, in
Yeah.
everything, is the exact opposite of what your hero is.
Yeah.
By that logic, Captain Cold is the Flash's archenemy. The Flash is
Yeah.
all about movement.
Yeah.
Captain Cold mastered absolute zero. The Flash is a scientist. Snart is like he's like a blue collar guy who like makes with his hands. He
Yes.
doesn't like study with math. Barry's a cop. Snart is a crook. Barry grew up with loving parents, or at least one.
Yeah.
Snart grew up in an abusive household. They're opposites.
Yeah.
That to me is the Flash is never satisfied. He's always looking for the next thing. Snart just wants his thing. He just wants what he wants, you know? To me, by that logic, Captain Cold is the Flash's archenemy. But is he his biggest villain?
No.
Is he his most dangerous villain?
He's not Lex to Superman.
He's not. You know, the Reverse Flash is the most dangerous threat to the Flash.
Yeah.
So I just think it's interesting that, like,
Yeah.
in some cases, those things line up. Your most dangerous enemy is also the one that's your opposite. And in other cases, it doesn't. But for me, the only reason it's a debate at all for me is because I came at it from that perspective. I think if you asked me and I hadn't put that kind of thought into it, I'd be like, well, it's Reverse Flash.
Yeah.
But there's this thing where I love that Captain Cold is this perfect opposite.
Yeah.
You know? Not a mirror,
Totally.
but like an opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Next question comes from Truth, Justice, and Hope, who asks, I think Snart is at his most interesting when he's doing the right thing, even if it's for the wrong reasons. This goes for the other rogues as well. Would it be worth giving them an ongoing series in the vein of Gail Simone's Secret Six? Hashtag no plugs this week.
Yeah, I called them out for
writing podcasts at the end of his name.
Yeah, listen, we don't give those out for free.
Yeah. Unless you're on the show or you're us.
Or I just do it.
Yeah. Unless the doctor's been on your show.
I mean, I agree. I agree. So when I say that, to the previous question, or a couple questions ago, that I like Cold with the rogues, I don't just mean I like him bad. I mean, I like the dynamic of him being bad or good with them.
Sure, yeah.
Because there's a tension there, you know? Even when Cold is solo and he's being either bad or good, the thing that's always the wrinkle is his relationship to the other rogues. That's the thing that will always derail a legitimate turn for him or a perfect crime that he, like, it's just me. How could it go wrong? And then he waves like, I really need this. And he's like, fine. And like,
I really need this job.
Yeah. Oh, God. Oh, Cold, I need this job. A coldest line.
Oh, my God.
So I do like him with the rogues. I think a rogues ongoing series would be great. And I think, like, the proof of concept is how awesome that Rogues Black Label series is. I mean, that series has like a definitive finale.
Totally.
It wouldn't be that carrying on, but the Rogues, like their interpersonal dynamics, how each of them grapple with morality. Like, there's a point in the Rogues where it's Evan McCullough, the second Mirror Master, is like getting high all the time, abusing drugs or whatever. Snart himself is an alcoholic, but he's like, drugs, you're out. You're fucking up the road.
Yeah.
I love the complexity of where they draw their moral boundaries, of how they interact with each other. There's romances, Mirror Master and Golden Glider is Snart's sister, and there's that Axel Walker, the younger trickster. They kind of feel like they got to watch out for him, but James Jesse is kind of one that would like fucking stab them in the back. There's all these interesting group dynamics, not to mention that the Rogues, like the Justice League, have had a sort of rotating roster. Other characters than the ones that we're thinking of have been in the Rogues. And so from a Captain Cold perspective, I think you treat him like the Batman or the Superman if you were writing a Justice League book. A lot of narration is going to come back to Cold. A lot of story is going to come back to Cold. But is this a more Mirror Mastery Rogues story? Absolutely. But we need Cold in. You know what I mean? Like, I think he's the thread through it, because people might come or go. Top might join the team. Magenta might join the. You know what I mean? People will sort of bomb in and out. But I would love that, especially in the vein of a Secret Six thing where it's like they're living in one house. They're like, we've got a lair under a seedy bar in Central City. Like, this is where the Rogues live. Like, that's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the next question from Deadly Podcast of Kung Fu. I know what most fans usually say, but Snart with the cold gun and tech, or the New 52 metahumans power. Also, who makes the perfect archenemy for him if he was in Marvel? So, Which one do you prefer?
So in the new 50, so Snart and the Rogues, all of the Rogues, have always been tech based.
Yeah.
Captain Cold has no powers. He has a cold gun. Heatwave has his hot gun. Weather Wizard has his staff. Yeah. They're always tech. Mirror Master has the mirror gun. In the new 52, they get convinced basically to use this special gene splicing machine where basically like they put their genetics and their weapons into this machine and it splices the powers into them. Mm-hmm. But it goes wrong.
Of course.
Like Cold's powers, he can't control them. They go kind of way further than he wants them to. And he kind of shorts out in like water. Like he can't fully control.
Interesting. Okay.
Heatwave gets like fully his whole body burned, but he's then immune to it, but it burns him first. Weather Wizard, the weather like talks to him. Yes. And he's like going crazy because he's like, the clouds need to rain, they need to let it go. Like
the clouds are like, no, babe, like legitimately it's like a medical thing.
It's like, you don't want me to not rain.
It's bad. It's a medical problem,
but I need you to count down. Yeah, tell me I'm a dark little rain cloud.
Yeah, why don't you kick that puddle?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you're not going to be able to clean up that picnic in time, are you? Yeah.
I'm going to ruin your meal.
It's like, guys, can we please get rid of these powers? So that's sort of what happened to the Rogues there. The Golden Glider ended up, Lisa Snart, she ended up like in a permanent astral form and her body was just like comatose.
Yeah.
So it goes wrong, but they, for a little bit, get metahuman powers. Cold ends up losing his because Deathstorm, the Firestorm from Earth 3, the Crime Syndicate one, like unsplices his DNA, like rips his DNA apart, basically with his powers.
Jesus.
Which, I mean, he's lucky that that's all that happened to him.
Yeah.
I prefer them to just have tech. I think it was a fun little arc, little diversion to have them have meta powers.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I like them being these like blue collar guys with tech. I love the Snart thing of like, I couldn't build this, like, I couldn't just like invent this myself, but I've studied it enough that I can build it. I know what parts go into it.
Sure.
Like they have a sort of more hands-on kind of genius. I don't know. It's something about the kind of the blue collar, like, I hate to say it sounds so patronizing, but like the work ethic of the Rogues, like there's something I like about that, and the powers muddy that, I think.
Yeah. I don't disagree with that.
I also just like how outmatched they are by the Flash. The fact that they put up a fight at all, like, and I think it's better when they don't have powers.
Yeah. I like that. All right, let's go to the next. Oh, also, who makes the perfect archenemy for him if he was a Marvel?
Oh, I mean, I guess if we're going by the logic I was using before, it's got to be a fast character.
Or a fire character?
Yeah, or something with, like, heat. Like, so, like Human Torch.
Yeah.
Or
Quicksilver.
Who are the fast characters? Quicksilver, the Wizard.
Sure.
Talking about Golden Snowball.
I was jamming. You got to it
first. Well, I got there first because you were like, I could see you be like, "Are you going to do it?" Like,
yeah, I mean that's true.
Like it was sort of like two people trying to go through a door at the same time. Yeah.
Which one of us is going to do it?
Yeah.
All right. Next question from Eric Warner, who asks, "Yes, I thought it was a great character development when he and Lex joined the League. It would have been really cool to see CC and Flash develop a sort of Ollie and Hal relationship as a crime-fighting duo."
Yeah, it would have been neat to see that evolve more. Frankly, that time period is very short. You know, Captain Cold's sort of stint adjacent the League is very short. It basically runs through the Mesovirus arc. And I think he's out before Darkseid War. I don't think he's in there during Darkseid War.
Sure.
I think it's kind of like, and then after that, he kind of gets bored of working for Lex, and he's like, yeah, back to crime. He's like, yeah, it was good for a bit, but like, I don't like this. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So it's a pretty short little stint. I think we could have stood to get a bit more character interaction between Barry and Len, but yeah.
All right. Last question from Twitter comes from our favorite religious representative.
Chris Chan.
That's right. Chris asks, Captain Cold just moved to the Yukon.
Oh, sure.
What are his short and long-term plans?
I mean, I think he'd get bored.
I mean,
he likes doing crimes and stuff. There's like a limit on how satisfying that could be up here.
He'd settle into a comms job. Come on, YG.
He would, yeah. Those golden handcuffs,
That's
baby.
golden.
Yeah, I love that he got bored with Lex, but a YG job, he's going to be like, oh, man, but I get 5 weeks vacation.
Yeah, the benefits are great.
Yeah, 5 weeks vacation, I'm making like 90 grand. And like, frankly, like, what does comms even mean?
Yeah, they match our RSP contributions.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah. Wow. So Cold just full sells out.
Yeah.
I mean, that is what the Yukon eventually does to everyone.
Yes, eventually you just realize you can't do it any longer.
Yeah, we're the only holdouts.
For now. We just got one step closer, so I think he gets a job working for the government, working for the Highways and Public Works Department, and he gets sent up to Dawson City to complete the ice bridge sooner than normally does.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and make sure that the river's frozen for like the quest and
Yeah,
like, the
yeah,
dog
absolutely.
mushing and stuff like that.
Yeah, surprisingly the Yukon has a trouble keeping things cold when it needs to be.
Yeah. I also think I'm shots fired a little bit.
Oh.
I don't think we have enough good homegrown ice cream.
Oh.
And I think briefly, oh no, he wasn't ice cream. It just, sorry, I was going to say, I thought his Leonard Starr's grandfather was like an ice cream man, but he's not.
Yeah.
He's like an ice delivery man.
Oh, wow.
So it's not the same. But
I just think that our local...
he could help, he could help with the permafrost thawing, because that's a big problem, like
Sure.
ecologically up here.
Yeah.
Just get Captain Cold on it.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think that like our local like sports organization doesn't like do enough work for like winter sports, and somebody really needs to take that over.
I mean, I'm just going to be the marketing guy. Not really in charge of programming.
Yeah, but he's involved with comms now, so
So we can't have two of us.
yeah, the opposite of cold.
Rogue scram.
Yeah.
I am the opposite of cold.
Yeah.
I've got all this like thermal insulation
Oh,
I've been
sure, yeah.
building for years.
You're just so hot.
I know you're just fucking lying.
Yeah.
Just trying to make me feel better.
Let's leave Twitter and head on over to Instagram.
Now we're going to Instagram. Take some questions and answer them.
First question from Instagram comes from Robbie is just this guy who asks, what's the worst injury Captain Cold has suffered from a freeze gun mishap?
Oh, worst injury. I mean, there's been a couple of times he's got the full like frozen kind of thing.
Nice. Love that.
His gun misfires or
there.
When he had the powers, he ends up like in water and gets stuck in, like that shit's happened to him a couple times. I don't think he's ever had like a worse injury than just like getting himself frozen for a bit.
No?
Not himself. Not that I don't think I remember him getting like frostbite and losing fingers, or you know what I mean? Like I don't remember that at least.
He's not like Prince Harry and got tip of his dick frostbite.
He's doled out. Yeah, I mean, listen. My penis was oscillating. I've heard it so much.
On TikTok, yeah.
So much.
My favorite thing is like
the Matt Berry reading it.
Oh no, my favorite is like a guy who's like putting AirPods in, and he's like, when my AirPods connect to my wife's phone.
I love that.
That's
I've
good.
seen the one where the one guy does Matt Berry like reading that part of the Prince Harry
nice.
book. My penis was oscillating.
I do like that. That's awesome.
Yeah, I think he's doled out real bad injuries.
Sure, yeah.
Breaking limbs off, and or freezing you just enough so you feel it,
Yeah.
but not so much that it's like numb. Like
Sure.
all sorts of like he's done that kind of shit, but I don't know that he's gotten particularly worse than just the kind of cartoony like
Sure, yeah. For those who can't see, the doctor just got shot to the wall with some cum.
Yeah.
Like a Velcro situation.
That's the rogue we need.
Yeah. Cum, Captain Cum.
Yeah.
That's what CC stands for. All right, next question comes from the real Josh Gill.
Yeah,
who asks-
sexy Gill.
Fucking hot.
Speaking of,
Oh my god. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, my penis is oscillating.
Jesus Christ.
How would the master of absolute 0 fare against the master of absolute 69?
My penis was. Yeah, I mean, dude, I wish I could remember this bit. I'm
know.
positive we defined what absolute 69 was.
I know. We're both partners of the exact same weight and height.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. What would absolute 60? I mean, it has to be like perfectly synced, I guess.
Or maybe you're in one of those.
I think absolute 69 is you have to be like drinking in the same amount of fluids you're expelling in like a perfect nonstop.
See, that's what I was going to say.
So it's like a particle accelerator.
I was going to say they're in one of
It's
those.
like a human centipede, but there's only two and it's cum.
I was gonna say they're in one of those big like steel wheels where they're like that's the two sides.
Oh, sure.
And they're both spinning and 69.
I think we're saying the same thing.
Centrifugal force.
Yeah. Yeah, a human centipede, but there's only two of you and it's cum.
Yeah, we're seeing the same thing.
Yeah. Again, I want to be very clear because that way it can't be gross.
Yeah. Wait, because it's clear?
Yeah.
Oh. If it's too clear, I think that's a problem.
Well, I think after a few.
Yeah. Oh God. Jesus. Who wins?
Well, I guess the Master of Absolute 69 is sort of off doing his own thing. He's kind of a closed circuit. So I guess Captain Cold.
Yeah, I think
because
so.
also, I mean, I think good luck coming if it's too numb.
Preach.
So
as a man who's drank too many drinks before a date, I would say I agree.
You think whiskey dick is bad?
Yeah.
Try having your dick frozen.
I have.
My penis.
I got a coxicle.
Jesus Christ. I was having this conversation when I was on CBC the other day.
Oh no.
Not this conversation.
Oh, I was what?
Sorry, I was doing preamble for the conversation I was about to have.
Sure, yeah.
I was having a conversation at
Sure,
CBC
yeah.
the
Did you go
other day.
in or did you do
Yeah,
it on
I
the
went
phone?
in,
Wait,
yeah.
they're doing it inside now?
Yeah, you're back, baby.
Yeah.
You still need a mask inside.
Fuck yeah.
I was saying I keep gaslighting my poor mom into listening to the show. Like she'll bomb in when it's like an interesting topic or we have a cool guest on.
So we're good. Yeah.
And she'll be like, "Oh,
I like the show.
Oh, have they taken a turn? Is it like Q? Are they doing like interesting interviews now?" And then the next episode will be like, "Yeah, you could jerk off, and then the Flash would catch it and spin it around. You'd have fucking." It's like every goddamn time.
That's so funny.
I feel so bad. I feel bad, but I refuse to make any concrete changes.
Yeah, it's called marriage.
To my mom?
No, I just meant that mentality.
What's wrong with you, man?
I mean, there's clearly a result with that
Who
mentality.
hurt you?
I have another answer for that too. So, next question coming from Ben Forrest Stewart.
Oh, lock the door if you're absolute 69ing.
What's the coldest thing Leonard has ever done? My money is on kicking Johnny Quick's legs off.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this moment before. So, In Forever Evil, this is the event where the crime syndicate comes to, like, Prime Earth.
Hell yeah.
They basically, like, they trap the Justice League in the Firestorm Matrix. So, there's no Justice League.
Yeah.
And a bunch of villains come together along with Batman to fight them. And they form the Injustice League.
Yeah.
Among them is Captain Cold. This is the event where we see, like, Deathstorm rips his genes apart so he doesn't have powers anymore. And in a laundromat, he builds a new cold gun.
Wow.
And Lex goes like, "You don't even have a high school education. How did you do this?" And he just goes like, "I just know what the parts are made of. I memorized how to take it apart and put it back together.
Interesting.
It's like, I just know what I need. I don't know how
Sure.
it works or why,
But I know how to put
but
it
I know how to
together.
build it."
Yeah.
And in this one, in the ultimate kind of like showdown with the crime syndicate,
Yeah.
Captain Cold goes up against Johnny Quick, which is the Earth 3 evil Flash. And Johnny Quick like gets him up against the wall and takes his cold gun. He's just holding it, and he's like, "What are you going to do without this, you stupid piece of shit?" And Cold says like something like "Jingle bells, Batman smells," and the gun activates and
Whoa.
shoots Johnny Quick in the leg.
Wow.
And Captain Cold kicks his leg off, like shatters it
That's
off.
crazy.
And yeah, and he goes, like, he says he has some speech to the effect of like, "Me and Flash, we have an understanding.
But you're not
You little piece of shit.
Yeah.
Like, you're not part of that."
Wow.
Yeah. And it's a pretty cold moment. Like it's dope.
That's awesome.
It's very, very cool. I'd say another one is when he kills Chillblain. Chillblain.
It's like David Blaine, but just like even more cool.
Yeah. He doesn't even do magic.
Yeah.
It's like, who could be bothered?
He just shows up, smokes a cigarette, and walks
He's
away.
so Chillblain.
Yeah.
Chillblain's on the Flash TV show.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's been on for a couple seasons. Chillblain is like a knockoff Cold character.
Oh.
But he kills Golden Glider. Or Chillblain, there's a few of them. Kills Golden Glider. And Snart just goes on the warpath to get him.
Wow.
And he's the one where he's like, "I froze you just enough that you'll still feel it."
Wow.
And he might break his arm off, or if he doesn't, he just goes like, "You're gonna feel it." He drops him off like a building, and that's what he shatters. But he'll feel it happen to him.
Wow.
That's pretty cold.
That's
a good one.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah.
All right, next question comes from Dan Hummer 97.
Ooh.
I'm pretty sure I have that written on a VHS somewhere.
Wow.
They go on to say, "What did you think of his role in the new Rogue series that just finished up?" We were just talking about that.
So you're reading this as well?
Yeah.
Do you have the final issue? Do you have all 4?
Yeah.
Have you finished it?
No, not yet.
Oh, okay. I'll be careful with what I
Sure.
talk about then. But what do you think thus far?
It's great. Yeah, it's great. I think you're totally right with the way that he is a little bit more like insidious in this.
Yeah, but I think it comes from pretty authentic places for the character. Like the whole thing is that about he does kind of end up getting just like a fine life. It's nothing remarkable, and he's unsatisfied.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, it's the thrill. It's being in charge. It's the plan. It's executing the heist. And he drags all these kind of aged rogues, because they're all like in their 50s and shit. He drags them all along on this like heist of Gorilla City.
Wow. Yeah.
And I do love the sort of like, you see it even in the early issues, you see these like the manipulations. They're like, it's just one more job, but like it's the way that like someone with any other kind of problem will drag down the people around them.
Totally.
Like
it's like an addiction.
They treat it a little bit like
Yeah.
that. Like it's just like, I just need the glory days. Like this sort of like, it's sort of a combination
Like a
of
high school like football guy.
combination of that and the sort of addiction thing of like
yeah.
needing the adrenaline
Yeah.
and shit like that. I think that series is amazing.
It's beautiful, and
I really don't love the
format
format of those
because it goes with
big,
nothing else.
those big Black Label books, but that book is great.
Yeah,
if you
it's-
aren't reading Rogues, if you haven't read Rogues, I don't know if there's like a trade of it or like a collection of it out yet. If not, hopefully there will be, or
Totally.
wait for it, or just track it down, see if you
Yeah.
can still order it. It's a really, really good series.
100%.
Yeah.
All right, next from Multi Sanchez, who asks, "How does the comics version compare to the version on the Flash TV show? Which do you prefer?"
I mean the version from the Flash, Wentworth Miller, amazing actor,
Yeah.
is so goddamn charismatic. I'd say he's more charismatic and charming on the show than he is in the comics. In the comics, he's still kind of like you'd still be like kind of like creeped out by him, I think.
Sure.
Like I don't think he's ever like comes off as like hot. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
he's always kind of like scummy. But the thing they get right is, having like a gentleman's agreement. Like, I won't reveal your identity if you let me do, like that kind of thing is a real Captain Cold and Flash vibe.
Totally.
Having these turns where it's like, I should do the right thing because it's bigger than my normal heisting. Totally.
Yeah.
Like, they get all of that stuff right. And like I said, on Legends, he gets like the full hero arc, and then he dies, which they get to do on TV because they're not competing with like, well, this character has to be around for another 60 years. and I liked that. Yeah, I mean, I think I understand why they did it, and I loved having Mick Rory on Legends as well. But I think a thing that fundamentally hurt the Flash was offloading the rogues.
Really?
Because, like, yeah, like, we got Mirror Monarch or whatever, like, Weather Wizard showed up one more time, but, like, you need Cold, and if you have Cold, you need Heatwave.
Yeah.
And offloading them to a different show, I think, fundamentally hurt the Flash, because it meant you're either dealing with speedsters, or I guess the Thinker, or you're dealing with, like, D-tier characters. And they're one-offs, and they can't be big bat. You know what I mean? Like, I even thought I liked what they did with Bloodwork and that, but Bloodwork's like a new character. You can only do so much. So then you got this Godspeed, the Savitar, this blah, blah, blah. And not having the Rogues as mainstay and not having Cold as a mainstay on that show, I think fundamentally impeded how successful that show could be in the long run.
Really think so?
I think so. I think it's a big issue with The Flash.
Wow. Yeah.
I really like him there. Now, which do I like better? I mean, probably the comics. It's just a bit more. I mean, just there's more to read. There's more nuances and flavors of that character. But Wentworth Miller is so goddamn good.
I mean,
let's not forget though that there was a Captain Cold in the 1990 live-action Flash show, and I'm 80% positive he was played by David Cassidy.
Really?
The singer slash
I know who he
the
is.
father of Katie Cassidy, who was on Supernatural, who was on Arrow, all of those kind of shows.
Totally.
But he was Captain Cold in that 1990 John Wesley Shipp Flash show. So we've actually gotten a couple of live action Captain Colds, believe it or not.
Yeah. Well. All right. Next question comes from ABC.
Brooks.
It's easy as 1, 2, 3.
Brooks.
It's easy as do, re, mi.
Brooks.
ABC.
Brooks.
1, 2, 3.
Brooks.
Baby, you and me,
Brooks.
Brooks.
Brooks. Brooks. Brooks. Brooks. Brooks. Brooks. Brooks. Brooks. Brooks. Brooks. Brooks.
Brooks, 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 Brooks. Brooks, 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 Brooks. Brooks.
My daughter is sleeping.
You son of a bitch.
You
son of a
asshole.
Bitch. You gave me such a hard time last time about it. Fuck you.
Man. Just figure it out, man.
Can't do anything for you.
Well.
I could do.
Yeah. We're going to, on the Patreon this week, we're going to attempt absolute 60.
ABC Brooks asks, Doctor and producer Richard, sure, why not? Look here. Don't do me any fucking favors.
Yeah.
You have to cast the lead in a Captain Cold movie, and you can't use Wentworth Miller. Who is the lead in your movie? Is Golden Glider in the movie? And who do you cast to play her?
So now here's the question.
Yeah.
Is this like a good villain movie, or are we making Joker but with Captain Cold?
I mean, let's assume we're always trying to make something good.
Sure. I think personally, as much as I love the character, like I've been saying, I think his most interesting times are when the rogues are pulling at him. And whether that's he's trying to be more heroic and they're pulling him back, or, you know, he's they're trying to do something worse and he's pulling them moral, you know?
Yeah.
That is part of what's interesting about Captain Cold. He has all of these complexities, but if you leave him on his own, he just gets to do what he believes is right. The tension of him is that he lives in between spaces, between villainy and heroism, between, you know, crime and good, and that he's constantly navigating that depending on whether he's teaming up with the Flash or he's with the Rogues, or what is the goal and what's the threat and things like that. It's weird because it makes it sound like he's a character that doesn't stand on his own, and I don't necessarily think that's true. But if you're gonna go to the trouble of making him a movie, give him the best goddamn shot, and the best shot is him having to navigate that shit. So I think, to answer the Golden Glider part of it, I think the Rogues have to be in a Captain Cold movie.
Whoa.
Call it Captain Cold, you know, make it about him or whatever. He could be the whole focus of it, but I think they need to be there.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
in the way that Black Label series
Yeah.
is called Rogues, but it's a Captain Cold,
Cold
book.
story.
You know
yeah,
what I
yeah,
mean? Like,
absolutely.
that book is about Captain Cold.
Yeah.
And I think that's the blueprint, you know?
So, who would you get to play?
Oh shit. Oh, do you know who'd be interesting? I mean, he's a little older, so it's not like the best version. But
Okay.
if they were all a bit older, I wouldn't mind Stephen Lang.
Oh yeah, sure.
I think
Yeah.
he's interesting. Someone that type. If you could find that type, but 20 years younger, like that's also
Yeah.
But that's kind of like the vein I'm thinking in. Someone who could just play kind of like rough and, you know, maybe there's something just beneath the surface that's a little more like heart, but yeah.
I'm gonna pitch Walton Goggins.
Walton Goggins would be great.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
I really, really like that.
I think he's got a bit of that sort of like seediness.
I think back in the day, I'd pitch like Bill Paxton.
Sure. Yeah. And I think Walton
And I
Goggins
think that's the
definitely
same vibe. I think
Yeah.
that's, you know, Walton Goggins has a little bit of like the spiritual successor to Paxton in him.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. Or I would go something slightly different and get the guy from Atlanta, the like main rapper guy.
Oh, I'm not sure.
I think he would do really good. But yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
All right.
I like these picks. Walton Goggins is probably the best one of those.
Hell
yeah. I really like that.
All right. Next question from Obadede98, who asks, "All right, now, fellas, what's cooler than being cool?
Ice cold.
And how
all right.
And how exactly does Captain Cold and his cold gun pose a chance against the Flash's super speed?"
Well, it comes right back down to that fundamental power of his. He's the man who mastered Absolute Zero. So if the Flash's entire power is about molecular movement, because keep in mind, the Flash doesn't just run fast. He can phase, he can alter his vibrational frequency to dimension hop. Like, fundamentally, Flash's power is just about movement. It's about atomic movement, molecular movement, stuff like that. If Captain Cold's cold gun robs all of that molecular energy, all that kinetic energy, if it's creating absolute zero, it is the perfect trap for the Flash.
Yeah.
They do it well on the show, and they do it in the comics where he can make like a cold field around himself. He did it where it's like even bullets would like slow down and that they're just robbed of all of their kinetic energy and they just like drop. The Flash would like run in and then he'd like kind of slow down and shit.
That's cool.
I don't know if there's a question better suited to talk about this, but I should mention that like in his earliest appearances, he could make mirages.
Really?
They were working off the idea that like in extreme heat, mirages appear. So in extreme cold, the same, I guess.
Sure.
But the weird wrinkle was he could like control what they were.
Oh my god.
He could like mirage
What?
himself to look like Barry Allen, police.
That's
you know,
a bit much.
It
Yeah.
was like he'd be like, and now here's a frost giant, and it would be like a mirage of a frost giant.
This is like early days. Like,
but it's like that's not how mirages work. Mirages are fully like just in your head.
Yes, that's based on the person viewing them, not.
Yeah. Those are in like early appearances of Captain Cold,
That's so funny.
which is kind of funny. It's like a kind of long forgotten power. That's the sort of thing I would expect like someone to be like, hey, we haven't,
Yeah.
you know, like do something kind of neat
Yeah.
with that would be kind of fun, but it's a very silly forgotten power of his.
Totally.
But yeah, the short version is because he robs all energy and movement, and the Flash is energy and movement.
Yeah.
He's actually perfect that way.
All right. Let's leave Instagram and head on over to Reddit.
Where everyone's nice and no one's ever mean.
From ToneDX2049, who asks, "What's your favorite arc or story where Captain Cold is the main focus?"
Ooh. I did go back and read some old like Captain Cold stuff. I read that issue where he kills Chillblaine. That's a really good one. Because in that issue, it's like a full... I can't remember what it is. Oh, actually, I can look it up here. It is... in that issue, you not only get like a flashback of like his life and how his dad was abusive and his mom ran away and his grandpa was the only thing that was like keeping the family together. And then, like you get all of the motivation of that, but it's him telling his own story as he's on the warpath to kill Chillblaine because Chillblaine killed his sister.
Not chill.
Is that from Absolute Zero? The Flash 182 from 2002. I think it's that one. That's a really good one. And that's just one issue, but I think it does a really good job of capturing him. I really like Rogue's Revenge from Final Crisis. So the Rogues got kind of tricked into, or set up basically into killing Bart Allen, to killing the Flash.
Oh, wow.
And then they were sent off to the Hell Planet in Salvation Run, where all of the villains, Task Force X, rounded up all of the villains and like teleported them to a different planet.
Jesus.
And then they came back, and then Final Crisis was kicking off. And when Final Crisis kicked off, Snart and the Rogues refuse Libra's offer to join the secret society because they're like, you're fucking dark side bullshit, like fuck you.
Sure.
But they go, but we were duped into fucking killing the Flash. That's not who we are. That's not what we do. We're gonna kill the shit out of Inertia.
Wow.
And they go after Inertia for revenge.
Crazy.
It's 3 issues, and it's the Rogues.
Do they kill it?
Oh yeah.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah. I think it's a good one because it is all about that kind of like, it's so murky, the code of ethics thing.
Yeah.
It's like, you guys kill. It's like, yeah, but it's different there. And like, technically they have lines, but it is also this sort of like, but not the Flash. That was an understand. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
there's this kind of like honor among thieves
Sure.
sort of vibe to them. And I think that's a good story for that. I like Cold in Forever Evil. I think Cold's he's not a main character of that, but he's interesting in there. I like that New 52 arc where they get their powers and shit like that, but then they also, because that one is kind of like Cold and the Flash versus the Rogues, but then Cold kind of like betrays. So Cold is kind of like plucked out of that a little bit, which is neat. There's a more recent one from like Year of the Villain, and again, Cold is sort of plucked out a little bit of that story. It's more about him and the Flash, and I think that one's good too. But just go back and read the old stuff. I mean, what's nice is that like most of the newer stuff, it's him and the Rogues. If you just want to read stories of the Flash and Captain Cold, the best thing to do is like go to the 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
Those are so many as like Captain Cold, I'm going to show up and do this. You got it. Even in the 90s, I've talked about it before. The first appearance of Tar Pit is Tar Pit tries to steal the Stanley Cup.
Yes.
Well, guess who likes ice hockey?
Of course.
He's in that story.
That's so
he
fun.
teams up with the Flash to stop Tar Pit because he's like, no, it's the Stanley Cup.
Incredible.
Like, again, this sort of like, you could steal it. He's like, no, it's hockey.
That's very fun.
Like there's that kind of shit. Like that shit is fun to me.
Yeah.
So I would like, go to the old stuff. Read that one with Tar Pit. I don't know what that is. That's Flash 170 something or 180 something from that volume, which is I guess volume 2.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would check those things out because at least those ones, they're him without the Rogues.
Sure.
Him with the Rogues is interesting for all sorts of reasons, but you got to complement it with like, what was he like when it was just him like stealing diamonds, or in one case like wooing like ambassadors from country, because he was also like, I stole your diamonds, but like he wouldn't say, he'd be like, I stole her diamonds, and he'd be like, I found your diamonds. Like, hey, sweet cheeks, you're a real nice dame. Like he would say shit like that, and he'd be some like ambassador that he's trying to like fuck. Like those are also
funny.
Captain Cold.
Wow.
I kind of love those older things for that.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, what a treat for our last question.
Sure.
From Big Daddy Reaper, my brother,
Uh-oh.
who asks,
This is the last question?
Yeah.
Uh-oh. I didn't think this through.
Yep. Is Captain Cold immune to shrinkage?
Oh, I would say no, because he doesn't have powers.
Oh, there's no immunity.
There's no immunity. Who knows? Maybe that's lingering since the genetic manipulation.
Sure.
Even though, his genes were kind of they were unspliced, but maybe that lingers. But certainly before Flashpoint, I would say no, he's not immune to it.
But maybe he's like adjusted his outfit.
Maybe maybe he's just like used to the number sensation though. It's just like wearing a cock ring.
Oh my God. It
Yeah.
actually works for him. He needs to. It's actually just so big you wouldn't
It has
notice.
to be cold for him to come. Yeah.
Glad we still are the podcast.
Who wants
we
a
are.
snow cone?
Oh no. Jesus. Well, that was the last
Who
question.
wants a golden snowball?
We would love to hear from you, residents. Why don't you send us a question for next week's episode?
Yeah, next week's episode, as voted on by the Golden Age patrons, is going to be about ring slingers. I would like to frame...
Cock ring slinger.
cock ring slingers. I would like to frame this specifically as questions about specific lanterns from any core.
Okay, not like Saturn Girl.
So not so much about...
Different type of ring slingers.
Yeah, different. Yeah. Let's talk about Lantern Corps. Let's talk about specific characters and not so much questions about like, how does purple mean love? And more about like, what is fatality? What is fatality's deal? That's a stump question. There you go. But,
Yeah.
like stuff like that. I think that's how I'd like to frame this one because we're going to have a special guest for that one.
Ooh,
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah.
Well, you can ask those questions on our social media platforms like our Facebook,
Dr. DC Podcast.
our Twitter.
At Dr. DC.
Or what's that new Mastodon? Is that the new one?
Well, Hive, but I haven't been on very much because it loads super slow. I've just gotten...
I thought Mastodon was supposed to do that. No.
I tried Master. I still don't understand how it works.
Sure.
Just fucking servers and
Okay, we're on neither of those. Instagram.
What am I, computer? Anyway,
Hey, I'm a computer. Quit your downloading.
hey, I'm downloading it. Dr. DC Podcast.
Thanks. Email.
Dr. DC Podcast at
We got
gmail.com.
a subreddit.
r/Dr_DC.
The doc phone.
208-917-3238.
I think it's still open.
Yeah, baby. If you're nasty.
Yeah. Ooh, you're only open if you're nasty.
Yeah, that's the only way you get through.
The new platform we are on is TikTok.
Yeah, I mean, at Dr. DC.
I
I'm
mean-
lurking.
Yeah, very true.
Easy.
Yeah. I've seen some of the stuff you've sent me. I know what makes my friend come. You can go to our... I mean, I did send you... Yeah, anyways.
We don't have to talk about it.
If it's a muscly lady, I'm sending it to Reed.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Our website.
DrDCPodcast.com.ca.
You can give us a 5-star review on any platform that you get the podcast. And while you're on there, why don't you subscribe and so that you get it in your feed every single week.
Yes.
Also, we got no place you can. Don't send us mail.
Yeah, don't send us mail. We're working on that.
Yeah.
Well, I got a thing in the mail that was like, need a P.O. box. And I was like, I do need a P.O. box.
I could use one. Yeah.
I'll investigate it. It doesn't seem super legit.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You could subscribe to our Patreon.
Yeah, patreon.com/DrDC. There's a $1, $5, $7 level. They all get you access to the Discord, our awesome fan community on Discord. And at the higher levels, you get bonus episodes, theme pools, all sorts of fun stuff that helps to support us.
This week we did, or this last week we did an episode. We've done 2 weeks in a row where they were very poignant, personal.
Make that 3 weeks in a row.
Oh my!
Yeah.
I don't even know what this week's
I
is.
planned it.
Oh, what? Oh my God! Subscribe to find out.
Yeah, baby.
Also,
January is now Personal Confessions Month.
we've got a wildly more successful podcast called Ghost Facers.
Yeah, Supernatural Rewatch. We're going through every single episode of the CW Supernatural. We talk real world monster lore. We talk behind the scenes stuff about the show. I fumbled my way through metaphysics. We're halfway through season 6 right now, and yeah, it's definitely the more popular show. Go check it out.
By like a wide margin.
I mean, margin.
Yeah. Almost double.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's it for this week.
Adios.
Ciao, ciao.
All the superheroes, they always fight for what is right. Live with danger and adventure, they are men of might.
This was a Brain Freeze podcast.